Hi guys, this is Mr. Dylan Records, and today I'm just going to take you through my top 5 Bob Dylan albums. We'll start off with number 5. Here we've got John Wesley Harding. This is Dylan's 8th studio album, released at the end of 1967, successor to the hugely influential Blonde on Blonde, but obviously it came a year and a half after the release of that album, due to Dylan being sent into seclusion by his motorcycle crash in July '66. But I love this album because it's just something a little bit different. It's an expression of Dylan taking a completely different approach to that of what he'd done earlier in his career, something absolutely at the other end of the spectrum to Blonde on Blonde. And it's the first Dylan album to contain biblical references, and it's truly... you can truly say that it's religiously influenced. It's the first time we see Dylan writing with all these religious references, and it's just something a little bit different. And I think only really Bob would have the confidence to release an album like this in '67, a year that would be so key in the history of pop music. Obviously, the Beatles released Sgt. Pepper that year. And we had all these bands coming through releasing psychedelic, experimental kind of stuff, and Dylan throws this at us, which is the complete opposite to psychedelic. Couldn't be further from psychedelic, but that's what I love about it. It's a really interesting record to listen to. You can learn a lot from listening to it, and great album. So that's number 5. Number 4, sorry, I'll try and keep this a little bit shorter. And number 4, we've got Dylan's 5th studio album, Bring It All Back Home, released at the start of 1965. Obviously a big year for Bob Dylan, 1965. And this is the first time he included electrical compositions in one of his albums. It's not all electric, it's half electric, half acoustic. But this shows a move away from his earlier style of writing and style of playing, I guess. All his albums prior to this were acoustic only, so this is definitely a change, like John Wesley Harding was. I like it because every song on the album has such quality. You know, we've got everything on this album from Subterranean Homesick Blues to It's Alright Ma. I mean, every song either has a great melody or great lyrics, or both, and there's not a bad track on this album. It's Alright Ma has to be my favourite song on the album. It shows actually that Dylan in fact wasn't moving away from topical songwriting. He was just writing in a different way. This song, for instance, is he's speaking out against anti-modernisation and an unbending establishment. And so it shows that he's definitely not moving away from topical songwriting, but just changing the way he does it. So this is a great album. This is number 4. At number 3, we have Highway 61 Revisited, another album from 1965, and released very shortly after a moment that changed rock and roll history forever. Obviously, him going electric at Newport in July. And this was released in August, just only a few days after that performance. And this is really an expansion of bringing back all back home. It expands on the ideas, but brings them to life a little bit more. And every song on this album is electric, bar one. And many consider this to be Dylan's finest work. I wouldn't say it's my favourite album, as it's number 3 on my list, obviously, but this was rated as the highest by Rolling Stone magazine. But like a Rolling Stone, which is the top track on the album, was rated number 1 on Rolling Stone magazine's top 500 songs of all time. So, and I like Rolling Stone, I believe, was Dylan's best song that he ever wrote. So, this song is really seeping with quality. You've also got songs with vivid imagery, songs like Tombstone Blues and Ballad of a Thin Man and Desolation Row, Desolation Row is over 11 minutes long, like an epic farewell, if you like, to folk music. The only acoustic track on the album. As I say, kind of, it's him saying goodbye to his acoustic roots in folk music, I guess. But yeah, it's a great album full of incredible imagery and yeah, certainly probably the most iconic Dylan album of the '60s. I think the most noticeable. And yeah, everyone should pick this up. Every fan of music should own a copy of this, because it really did change rock and roll forever, I believe. And obviously it was so influential to many of the band, the big artists of the time. You know, the Beatles, the Beach Boys, Johnny Cash, everyone like that. So yeah, that's Highway 61. That's number 3. Number 2. Number 2 is Blood on the Tracks. And Blood on the Tracks I actually don't have in a hard copy. I bought it on iTunes, so unfortunately I don't have that to show you guys. But this was probably Dylan's finest album of the '70s, released in 1975. And I believe the best set of love songs ever written. Certainly the best love songs he ever wrote. And it's all put together in one album, and it's truly a masterpiece. Many people, most people in fact, believe that the songs were written for Sarah Lowndes, which of course was Dylan's wife from 1965 to 1977, and this album is kind of an expression of the state of their marriage at this point. It was obviously falling apart, and they would break up only 2 years later. But it's full of anger and full of despair, and it's the only time, well, not the only time, but the first time Dylan really lets you into his soul, and it really lets you explore how he's feeling and the feelings he has, and what he's singing about is so raw. And this actually has an effect on his vocals as well. Many people actually kind of believe that his singing has got progressively worse over his career. I believe this was a real return to form in 1975. The voice really suits the songs, if you know what I mean. And it's so raw, he almost spits the words out, and that's really good for the songs on the album that are very angry and very bitter in nature. The songs are just so full of emotion. It's easy to get lost in this album. And yeah, it contains some great songs: Idiot Wind, Tangled Up in Blue, Shelter from the Storm. There's not, again, like every album in this top 5, there's not really a bad song on any of them. And they really are all masterpieces, in my opinion. So yeah, that's Blood on the Tracks. And then moving on to number 1. You probably already guessed what this one's going to be, but we have Blonde on Blonde as the number 1 Bob Dylan album. My favourite Bob Dylan album. I believe this is just truly the pinnacle of his career. A true masterpiece, musical bliss. It's just a joy to listen to. I never get bored of listening to the tracks on this album. And obviously this was the last album he released before the infamous crash. It was actually released in the same month of the crash. But yeah, this was the first album, which is actually a double LP. I believe it's the first. I believe it was the first significant rock and roll double LP. But there definitely isn't any kind of drawing out on this album. It's not drawn out at all. It's every song is full of quality, and it's actually a very different album to the previous one, Highway 61. Highway 61 is not undimensional in any way, but this album contains just some incredible variety. I mean, we've got, you've got everything you could possibly want on this album. You've got love songs, some quite poppy songs, kind of catchy songs that really stick in your mind. Songs like I Want You, songs like One of Us Must Know, Just Like a Woman, songs like that. And then we've also got some really abstract, almost avant-garde kind of compositions. Songs like Stuck Inside a Mobile with the Memphis Blues again are really quite evocative and quite like the songs on Highway 61, quite full of metaphors and imagery in it. So yeah, this album really has everything. Contains Sad Eye Lady of the Lowlands, which is one of my favourite songs of all time. 11 minutes long, just beautifully written love song to his wife Sarah. And it really just does sum up what this album is about. It's everything. It's the pinnacle. It's the peak, and it doesn't get much better than this. And obviously, it would just come crashing down just a few weeks after this was released, when he crashed his motorbike, and his music would never be the same again. But we're so lucky that this was released, and it will live forever, because it's a masterpiece. And so that's number one, and that's the top five, my top five Bob Dylan albums. If you like this video, then give us a like or go on my channel and subscribe. That'd be awesome. I'll have more videos up soon, but if you have any queries or any comments on video I just made, then leave a comment below, and check out the other video on my channel which I uploaded yesterday. And I'll have more content up soon for you guys. But yeah, thanks.